Scripture makes us understand that for lack of knowledge, my people perish. And the same scripture also makes us understand that there's safety in the multitude of counsel. And so we've gathered this evening to acquire knowledge, to receive counsel. The program is Let's Talk About, and it's coming to you live from the premises of Trinity United Church Legon on the campus of Trinity Theological Seminary. My name is Benjamin Ofeado, and I'm going to be your host. And today, on Let's Talk About, we are talking about the Christian and insurance. Yes, that's our conversation. Is it necessary for the Christian to consider insurance if indeed we move by faith and not sight? That's our conversation this evening. And to help us have this conversation are people who are very well versed in the matter of insurance. Thankfully, both of them are Christian, and they are both also members of Trinity United Church. And so I would want to introduce my panelists for this evening, who are going to be introducing us to the concept of insurance and take us into further detail and connect that with the life of a Christian. To my very immediate left is the man who is the regional head for agency development with Prudential Life Assurance. He goes by a very simple name. His name is Mr. Michael Ansan Otu. Uncle Mike, you're welcome to the show. And to the very far left is a man I've had interesting relations with. He is the CEO of the West Africa Insurance Companies Association. He's a member of Trinity United Church, just like Uncle Michael, and he goes by the name Mr. William Coker. Mr. Coker, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ben.
And thank you very much, both gentlemen, for joining us this evening for this conversation. We want to go straight into the conversation, and let's start with basics. When one says insurance, what is insurance? Starting with you, Mr. Ansotu.
Okay. So insurance is basically a protection against financial loss. So basically it's a risk management. That's how I put it.
So there's a certain potential loss.
Yes.
And you want to protect yourself against it.
Yes.
And that is what we call insurance.
Yes, basically.
Okay. You talk about risk management.
Yeah.
If you would want to break that down a bit.
Because in life there are so many risks that come up. There are some you can avoid, there are some you need to assume, and there are some you can't just do everything, but just try and reduce it. So insurance helps you to reduce some of these risks, especially for instance, if it's death, you can't avoid. The cost component of it is what you try and reduce. If it's general business, a vehicle or say a property that gets bent, that you can easily, once you've insured it, it can't be replaced. That's like I said, it's risk management.
Okay.
So you try and manage your risks in such a way that should it happen, you will not be found wanting.
So I heard you use words like avoid, assume, reduce. I guess others may even add transfer. Is this a certain framework that for you insurance professionals you use when it comes to risk management?
Definitely, because as I said, something like death, it's certain it will come. Unlike products that have expiry dates written on them, human beings don't have their expiry dates written on their foreheads. It's only God who knows it. So in such a situation, you can't avoid it. You can only reduce the cost component that comes with it. You pick something like a property insurance, and then if you insure your house against a fire and its contents, the value of the contents would be measured, and so should it get bent and you've paid your premiums, you can then have it replaced. So such a situation then is more or less like being brought back to the state in which you were before the condition happened.
Okay. Mr. Coker, to pretty much the same question, the concept of insurance, and you realize that there are a number of salespersons or insurance agents, when they are approaching a lot of people, they actually run away because they feel insurance, they are just trying to get my money and I'm not going to get anything out of it. What makes insurance so important, following from the kind of definition that Uncle Mike has given?
Thank you very much. Like you rightly said, following from what Uncle Mike has said, I would want to add that insurance is a transfer of risk mechanism. Now, the problem, one of the problems where the issue of selling, or as you say, people run away when they're when it's being, insurance is being sold to them, is that that salesman probably does not explain to the person that, look, you are at risk. Now, when you tell the person you are at risk, you have something negative facing you. Obviously, it makes it very personal. And you own that kind of situation. And once you accept that you are at risk, what Uncle Mike says then comes into play. You want to find a way of either eliminating that risk or minimizing it. That's a human tendency. Nobody sees evil coming and you stand there looking at it, or something negative. You try to either deal with it before it arrives, put it on the side, or you prepare for it so that when it eventually arrives, you know how to handle it. So that's the whole essence. I mean, transfer mechanism and owning that risk before you even seek to transfer it. Once you get that concept, you understand the need and what insurance is all about.
I'll be probing that a little bit, but for those joining us, we are live on Facebook on Trinity United Church Legon, also on YouTube on the same handle, Trinity United Church Legon. We're also live on Sunny 88.7 FM. So for those of you driving home or in your homes, you could be listening to us on Sunny 88.7. The show is live over there. Mr. Coker, I hear you talking about the prospective insurance agent making it a lot more personal for the person they are trying to sell the insurance policy to. What I'm hearing you say is the product you're actually selling is fear. To make them realize how imminent a certain danger is to them. Is fear what insurance is about?
I wouldn't say insurance is about fear, but it's about dealing with the potential of a negative scenario. I mean, the same scenario can cause fear in me, but in another person, I mean, he wouldn't care less. So it's not that insurance is about selling fear. No. It's about making one realize what you are up against, the potential of what you are up against, and dealing with it in an appropriate and, I dare say, legal manner.
Okay. Mr. Ansotu, so, I mean, following from that, you tend to have situations where, I mean, a lot of Christians will say, oh, I live by faith and not by sight, and that no weapon fashioned against me shall prosper. I mean, in essence, I don't need to pay for a certain protection by man. God will take care of me. What would you say to such a person who is a Christian and does not appreciate the concept of insurance?
I think what I would say is that God gave us wisdom. The difference between humans and animals is that humans can think. And the essence of the wisdom is to help us defend ourselves, protect ourselves against imminent danger. And just as I said, some of the risks are certain, like death. It will come. And with science and medicine, we have data and statistics. So for instance, the average statistics in Ghana says between 59 to 60 years. That's the average death rate. So if your parents are above that, that means that they'll go. The time and when is what we don't know. And so when an insurance person comes to you and wants to sell a funeral policy for you to buy for your parents, I believe that reason and common sense comes to play here, that it is certain the person will go. We have data and statistics. If they cross the 59, 60, it doesn't mean that those who are younger don't pass on, but it's something that is bound to happen. So God is there, but God gives us wisdom. That's the reason why when we are sick, we go to the hospital. It's the same mechanism we use in insurance.
Reason and common sense.
Yeah.
Wisdom. Mr. Coker.
Let me take it from the foundation he has laid and just give you a story. It's a fable, but there was this village was heavy rainstorm, there was flood. And there was this Christian, very staunch Christian. The water rose, window level, up to his roof level, but he was able to climb and go to the top of the roof. A man in his canoe passed by. Say, come, let me help you. We can get you down to safety. The guy sits there and says, oh no, I'm a Christian. God promised that he will keep me safe. And he will come and save me. I'm waiting for him. He goes. A helicopter comes by. Let's drop a line for you. And you will be okay, and we take you to safety. No, no, no. My God has said nothing wrong will happen to me. He will save me, etc., etc. Unfortunately, the waters rose to a level where the man couldn't move, and he was drowned. And he died and went to heaven. At least that's the good side of it. He went to heaven. And when he went and faced God, he said to God, but God, you said all will be well with me and I will not die. Why didn't you come and save me? God said to him, look, but I sent something to save you. I sent 2 people to save you, and you didn't take them. What did you want me to do after that? So it's the same essence, the essence of wisdom. I mean, God gave us choices. Knowledge first and then wisdom. So that's the whole essence.
Interesting. Now let's look at the types of insurance that we have. I've heard you, Mr. Ansotu, mention at least 2 already. What are the general broad types of insurance?
Okay, so broadly we have the general business, and then we have the life.
Okay.
And the general insurance deals with property, non-living things basically, and then the life deals with human beings.
Okay.
So under the life you have broadly the educational policies, we have the funeral policies, we have some that have a little bit of savings and investment in there, and then we have that those that are purely risk as well. So it protects people's incomes against death, disability, critical illness. And then when you come to the general business, of course, there's the one that you are very much aware of, car insurance. We have the vehicle, we have the normal property insurance against fire, burglary, and all those type. And then we have the health insurance as well.
Okay. Mr. Coker, would you want to add to that? You mentioned there's the life and then there's the general. Maybe you could expand a bit more under each of the brackets.
Yes, those are the 2 main branches in insurance. But nowadays, with all sorts of risks coming up, those branches, when I started insurance 40 years ago, there were very limited types, which is mentioned, motor, fire, you know, those kinds of things. Those were basic, and they're still around.
Did you say you started insurance about 40 years ago?
Well, that's the truth. Let's put it that
Okay.
way. That's the truth. In 1981, to be precise.
Oh, wow.
Now, the thing is, nowadays, risks have changed. Before, in the olden days, I'll give you another scenario. In the olden days, policemen were meant to be people who were big, strong, bulky, and can run fast. Because the thieves and criminals in those days were limited in their doings. Nowadays, the criminals don't have to be fast, and they can be small, tiny boys, sit in their rooms and do terrible things. So now the policeman has to be cyber conscious. So that is the risk we are facing. That's the change we are facing in insurance now. Now there is cyber risk. There is, I mean, for example, we are still going through a pandemic. Whoever thought about that? These are all things. These are new risks that are coming on that insurers have to take up to be able to satisfy the markets.
Let's talk about the 2 broad headings. Let's start with life, and he did mention it. Life, he did talk about funeral, education, protection against income or against loss of income, among others. Could you just break them down to a lot more digestible levels for our viewers and then listeners as well?
Well, I will leave the life part to him because that's his
forte.
expertise.
Okay, then let's start with you on the
general side. I mean, I could talk about the life, but I would rather he does.
Okay.
Now, the general side, you have your building. It can catch fire. God forbid. Your building, there can be floods. I mean, we've seen it, well, in Accra, the floods that were happening. I mean, I think is it the last flood that happened near West Sako, the moto place. I've forgotten what's the name of the place again, where vehicles, where those vehicle Toyota and Rana Motors, that area,
industrial area.
Insurance companies ended up paying millions, in fact billions of cedis, millions of dollars for that. That is property insurance, fire. You and I, even when we invite people into our homes, we are liable for their safety. So if they get hurt, like maybe one of the children spills water on the tile floor, and my guest comes, slips, falls, hurt himself, I am liable for that legally. So how do I protect against that? If I am not, I have not put money aside to cater for such eventualities. I mean, the other one that most people are very, very common with is the business of motor insurance. I mean, you are driving your car, human sense, not to talk about the law, just human sense says you must drive your car diligently so that you don't cause harm to somebody else or damage to somebody else. Now, if you cause harm and damage to somebody else, don't expect that somebody else to let you go and say, oh, thank you very much, God bless you, go your way. No, he would expect you to compensate him so that he can fix his car and move on in life. I mean, that's just a few of the very basic and common ones. There are a whole lot more. There are a whole lot more, really. Insurance look, insurance is normally said to be the only industry or profession that exists to ensure the continued existence of all other professions.
Insurance is the only profession that exists to ensure the continuous existence of all other professions.
Of all other professions.
I see.
Because no other profession provides that kind of compensation. We're here, any misfortune or many mishap in any other in any other profession, you can fall on insurance, and we make sure your business continues.
Okay. So, Mr. Ansontu, if you could talk us through the life assurance bit.
So, with the life assurance, let's say the funeral policies. Under these policies, you can cover yourself, you can cover your spouse, your parents at up to a certain age, depending on the companies. And then should death occur, then a claim is given to the trustee. The trustee is the one that you believe that in your absence can handle this money well and take care of your interests. And it's very important because one thing with life is that you can't put a value to it. So I, for one, can insure my parents, and all my siblings can do same.
Okay.
And should that occur, we all can make a claim and then come up with a befitting funeral for appearance.
So notwithstanding the fact that the person being insured is the same,
yes,
all the persons doing the insuring can make a claim.
Can make a claim. This you can't get with the general business. It's because you can put a price to the item. If it's a building, you can cost it. And so it's fixed. But human life you can't price. So once all the siblings decide to insure the parents' consent, and should the unexpected happen, they can all make a claim. And these things have a way of reducing stress on the family. Because you and I, I'm sure, are witnesses of friends and loved ones. The moment their major breadwinner passes on, then there's a problem. Kids change schools from international schools to public schools. Others even sell dogs chains and these attendant problems and all.
In fact, someone actually said that when a lot of people are crying when their parents pass, it's not because of the demise of the parents, but because of the livelihood they are losing attendant from the person's demise.
Very, very true. So it helps to reduce it. For instance, if it's education, These days, educations also have a bit of life policy in there. So that should the premium payer pass on, there'll be a lump sum money to take care of the kids' education. And it helps you to plan for the future. It's basically like a leveler, because people pray for their kids to become doctors and all. And once the kids get there and your child successfully passes, getting admission to University of Ghana, the cost of tuition and everything, you need over 20,000 plus. And that becomes another problem. But if you had picked the policy right from when the child was at primary school, you'd have had a lump sum money that would have cushioned you, and you would have paid the school fees with less stress and then achieve your aim. So it helps you to reduce your costs, especially managing the family and everything. Because normally research shows that at the early stages, most parents are able to take care of their kids because they are younger. But because of the same financial issues, the men marry late, the women marry older men. So by the time the first one about entry tertiary, the major breadwinner, who happens mostly the man, may be on pension. Then you have only the mom to take care of the kids. So if you don't have policies like this to take care of the children's school fees and all, then it becomes a lot of stress.
Okay.
And we are late starters, unfortunately. It's around 50, 55 that people begin to build their pension homes and all. And all the attendant diseases also come after that age. So then it becomes a lot of stress on the family. And so it helps you to protect your family. You have a plan for them, and whatever dreams that you have for them, you're able to achieve it.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Coker and also Mr. Ansotu. You can send in your comments, your questions, your suggestions through the WhatsApp line 0501 579 996. 0501 579 996. We are talking the Christian and insurance. We'll be going for a quick break. When we return, we'll be talking other elements of insurance. They've spoken about general, they've spoken about life. Where does something like health insurance fall? And the other forms of risks that have been spoken about. How do insurance companies go about the process of pooling those risks and insuring the people that are buying these policies? The show is Let's Talk About. We'll be right back after this short break.
Down at your feet, oh Lord, down at your feet, oh Lord, I bow before your throne. I bow in worship, I adore you, Lord. Down at your feet, oh Lord, is the most high place. In your presence, Lord, I seek your face. I seek your face. Down at your feet, oh Lord, is the most high place. In your presence, Lord, I seek your face. I seek your face. There is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. I am amazed at your glory, embraced by your mercy, oh Lord. I live to worship you. There is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. I'm amazed by your glory, embraced by your mercy, oh Lord. I live to worship you. At your feet, oh Lord, is the most high place. In your presence, Lord, I seek your face. I seek your face. There is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. I am amazed at your glory, embraced by your mercy, oh Lord. I live to worship you. There is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before. I will kneel before your throne. I am amazed at your glory, embraced by your mercy, oh Lord. I live to worship you. There is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. I am amazed at your glory, embraced by your mercy, oh Lord. I live to worship you. Oh Lord, it's an honor to worship you. Oh, to worship you.
Welcome back. We're still here on Let's Talk About. It's coming to you from Trinity United Church, Legon, here on the campus of Trinity Theological Seminary. We are talking the Christian and insurance, and to help us with this conversation so far, we've had Mr. William Coker and Mr. Michael, and so to both insurance professionals, and they've been teaching us a lot more about what the concept of insurance is and why it's necessary for a Christian to take up an insurance policy. You can continue sending your comments in via WhatsApp line 0501 579 996. You can also drop your messages on both our Facebook and YouTube streams on Trinity United Church, Legon. We have a few questions coming in, and a question coming from Enoch Nyaku. He says, what would we say to a Christian who is hesitant about taking insurance against practical sense, given that God has promised to protect us? This is asked in the context of examples like Abraham yielding to his human wisdom and trying to have a child through another woman other than Sarah, as God promised. Who would want to go for this one?
Let me hit that one. Let me be very categorical. The word insurance does not appear in the Bible. Now, if we want to go by that, then we might say the insurance is not Christian. But by the same token, I say the word cigarette does not appear in the Bible. But we know we're supposed to avoid it as Christians. Why? Because our bodies are said to be the temple. So by interpretation, by inference, we know we should avoid cigarettes. So by the same principle of inference, I mean, there are certain Bible verses that tells you that, look, you must find a way of dealing with some of these things. These risks that are inevitable, that could come your way. For example, my brother here has talked about preparing, as it were, for the future by using insurance. Now, it is said, I have a biblical verse here, 1 Timothy 5:8. It says, if a man does not prepare for his family, he's a bad guy. I mean, this is my own paraphrase. So if you can prepare for your family so that you don't give your family a hard time by using insurance, which is not illegal, neither is it immoral. I think that's a tool that God has given us wisdom to use. Now, obviously, there's an alternative to insurance. Even in the law, human law, there's an alternative. Now, for example, in the Motor Insurance Act, you don't have to do insurance by force, but it means you have to have a deposit of a certain amount, hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis, deposited at the central bank to take care of any eventuality. So if you have that kind of money,
Which is still insurance.
well, if you have that kind of money to put aside, fine. Because that money will be there, it will not be useful to you. You could have used it to do something else. Whereas you can use a small amount of money and pay insurance for the same risk, and you'll still be good to go.
But the difference between the two is, as opposed to the insurance policy, which expires after a certain period, the money there is still yours.
It's still yours.
Okay.
And it will be, as and when you have, you call on it to pay for your for your liabilities, it reduces, and you have to augment that kind of thing. Now, the other thing is on the issue of life assurance. The Bible says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard." Now, what's the characteristic of the ant? The ant stores up food. For what?
A rainy day.
The rainy day. The squirrel, when they're ready to go into hibernation, long winter, what do? They store up food. The bear does the same thing. They are preparing for when it will be rainy day, they will have something. Same thing, like my brother said. Put aside something in the form of insurance. Okay? Now, you have to pay compensation to somebody. I mean, there are verses like that in Exodus. It is said that if you cause somebody injury or death or kill their cow or things like that, you have to compensate them. Now, how do you do that if you don't have the money somewhere kept? Insurance is a smart way of doing it. So by inference, you can see that the Bible does not clearly say, go and do insurance, but it gives you guidelines which will help you know that it is wise to do insurance. That's just but a few that I want to mention.
Mr. Ansotu, and you know, the questioner, Enoch Nyako, asked the question within the context of someone like Abraham choosing to go through a route which came across as he trying to help God's plan for him, going for a woman other than his wife, Sarah. Does this sit within the context of ensuring one's self, in this case, a certain promise towards him?
I think to add up to Proverbs chapter 27, verse 12. It also says that the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. So by inference, there are a lot of Bible quotations that tells us how to wisely order our steps so that we can reduce our losses. And that is what I think every Christian should do. There's God, but when we are sick, we go to the hospital.
So now that you talk about sickness, let's talk about health insurance. Within what bracket does health insurance sit in the between the headings of general and then life assurance, as has been spoken about already?
I think for health insurance, it falls still under life because it deals with human beings.
With a human being.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask about the process of insuring someone. As far as many people are concerned, the insurance company just takes their money, and when they have a claimable occurrence, it becomes a difficult tussle for them to get their money. In fact, someone sends in a question. Joshua Boateng says, I understand every vehicle on our roads must be insured by law, minimum third party. How come whenever a road accident occurs, these insurance claims are so complex to process? We end up paying for the cost of repairs ourselves. I have been a victim. What is the process of insuring? What do insurers do or insurance companies do?
I think one of the basic principles of insurance is utmost good faith. I would speak from the life perspective. I think I'll let Mr. Coker handle the general. When a salesperson comes to you trying to sell a life policy, premiums are basically calculated based on the ages of the people you want to cover. As much as possible, be truthful. If you don't know the age, say so. Or refer to an uncle, an auntie, or somebody who knows the exact age. Because when the age is wrong, and there are health questions as well, they will ask, do you have a family history of hypertension, all those things? You say, no. And should death occur, and that is the cause, then it means that you lied. And that's where, at the point of claim, people have challenges. The questions seem very harmless at the initial stages, but it's to check whether there's a history. So for instance, if I want to do a policy, and the questions are asked about my biodata and that of my family, it's just to trace to see whether there's a history of, say, diabetes or hypertension. If the risk is high, the insurance company may decide to ask you to go for medicals at their own cost to check your condition and state. Where they think your status is a bit high in terms of risk level, they may decide to assume but increase your premium.
The premium.
Where it's low or it's average, they will just allow you to go through the system. So that's the way we check the system. But most often than not, people tend to lie. And it's at claim stage when they are supposed to come up with the evidence, then the evidence gives you away. Because probably you said the age was 50, apparently the person was 70. And the premiums, the older you are, the more you pay. So these are some of the challenges that most people have. And so as much as possible, insurance professionals, especially the salespeople, are taught to tell clients that give us the truth. If you don't know the age, go consult and come out with the right ages so that we can get the right premiums for you so that you don't go through any challenges at claim stage.
That's about the person.
That's about person.
General.
Let me, yes, in answering this question, I'll be very blunt, real blunt. You see, insurance works by principles. We have rules. We don't just drop from the sky. There are rules. I mean, Mike has mentioned one of them, the issue of utmost good faith. Insurance is based on financial value. Now, and you know, let me give another analogy. You see, we say here in Ghana, we have one official football coach, but there are 20 million others.
I think from the current census, in excess of 30 million.
Oh, 30 million. Okay. Well, I didn't count the little children. I took 10 million out for the little children who know about football than anybody else. It's the same problems insurance faces. Everybody thinks because they have that small insurance policy, they are experts in the business. First of all, when you're buying insurance, know what you're buying. Know what you're buying. It's important. Know what you're buying. Secondly, when you have bought, don't try to defraud. I can tell you that insurance companies, like Mike has said, will tell you, oh, my car is not valued at so much. Okay? Because he doesn't want to pay the premium, the actual premium. Because the way insurance works is 10,000 people pay small amounts of money into a pool, a big pool. Now, the assumption, statistically, not everybody will have a misfortune during a particular year. And those few who have a misfortune of having an accident, out of that pool of money, they are compensated adequately as per what they brought in. Because as per what you brought in is what you take out. You don't take out more than you brought in. And those are the things people think, oh, why? I have third party, I should be paid the world. As if I should, my car has a dent, I should have a new car. No, there are principles. I mean, and once people take the time to understand the principles, then they will not be offended when you have those things. Now, the one key cardinal point about insurance is that insurance is limited to the sum insured under the policy.
Okay.
So please, if you go and your sum insured is under, let's say, third party, or even your own car. Let's say in your own car, you have a limit of say 100,000 in a particular section, and you go and cause liability for 150,000. You don't expect the insurance company to pay 150,000 simply because when you were paying premium, your premium calculation was based on what? The 100,000. So that is what your claim will be based on. So that extra 50,000 that you have committed, it doesn't mean you're not liable for it. You're still liable for it. The unfortunate thing is that insurance will not pay for that.
Okay.
Because they did not receive a premium for that.
For that, okay. You've mentioned a number of words. You've mentioned premium, you've mentioned sum assured, you've spoken about third party. I know comprehensive will also be coming in. Can you explain those terms? What is premium? What is the sum assured? Then you can also draw the linkage between those two terms, and then you can talk about the types of cover, whether it's third party and
Okay,
comprehensive.
very quickly. The premium is actually, shall I say, what you pay for the policy, for the cover that you're getting.
Okay.
That the small amount of money, which is usually a percentage, very small percentage, you know, in insurance, it depends, but it's based on the sum insured, which you pay to the insurance company. Now, if you pay, for example, I think third party, the premium now is about 400-500 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Okay?
Depending on the insurance company, I guess.
No. I think there's a limit for third party.
Okay.
For third party, there's a limit that the regulator has put to that. So if you pay that, you have a third party cover. That's what you are. That small amount for 100,000 cover.
Okay.
You know, that's a lot of money. Now, let me just veer into the life aspect. If you pay that premium of, say, 500 Ghana cedis, and for a life policy of 100,000, compare that to if you take it to the bank. Now, if you put 500 Ghana cedis in the bank today, a year from now, what do you get? Short of interest, 500 Ghana. In fact, the bank will take some and say bank charges.
And commission on turnover.
Commission on turnover. So you get less. Now, if you put that same 500 Ghana cedis in a life policy, and God forbid, the person who owns the life, who took the life policy, dies 2 weeks after that 500, that insurance company is liable to pay 100,000 Ghana cedis straight up. Can you beat that when it comes to investment? I don't think so. I don't think so.
So the sum assured is what you
The
stand
sum
to
assured,
benefit.
like for example, is the 100,000 I told, the value of the policy. So if it's a motor vehicle, it will be the value of for which the vehicle is insured, not necessarily the value of the vehicle. Because some people, the vehicle might be costing, the market value of the vehicle might be 200,000. But because they don't want to pay premium, they insure it for 100,000. Now that amount that is in the policy, the document, is what is called a sum assured or sum
assured.
insured.
Okay, all right. A few questions coming in, and I think you've just alluded to it, so I'll come back to you with that particular one. Joshua Watson is asking, investment and insurance, which is more prudent? Kindly give pros and cons. We are in for election.
Oh, well, if I may, insurance itself is an investment, both for the person who is insuring and for the shareholders who put their money in it. It's an investment, because it's an investment against money that you may be called up to spend, to take out, which you have not planned for. So it's an investment in itself. So unless I'm not getting it, but for me, insurance being an investment, the question as to whether insurance or investment is the same thing.
Okay, so let's recount. Putting my money with a fund manager and putting my money in an insurance policy, which one is better?
Well, I very clearly gave that example a few moments ago when I said as soon as you put your money, for example, in a life policy, you immediately have value for that, which you will not get with a fund manager, either a bank or
an investment bank,
micro insurance, or micro credit, or those kinds of things. You will not.
Okay, all right. Michael, so Julius Koshi is asking, if death is certain, why then do insurance companies generally cap the age at which one can take a funeral policy on someone, especially for older folk who are most at risk of actually dying?
Just as Mr. Koka said earlier, it's a pool of resources. And in coming up with the pool, we don't want people to also take advantage of the system. And so at a certain age, actuaries, insurance companies believe that it makes a lot more, let me say, sense, for lack of a better word, to cap the age. Because if not, people will just take their grandparents to the hospital, and when they are just about dying, quickly will come and pick a policy. When it happens that way, you take advantage of the system. And so that's the reason why we try and cap the age to a certain limit. But these days, there are other insurance companies that have even come up with no limits. But what it means is that you pay more, because then the risk is extremely high. And one thing with actuaries is that they can basically insure anything and everything. You would have to pay the premiums. Once you can absorb the premiums, a product can come that way for you. But it becomes more expensive, because all other things being equal, the older you are, the more likely you are to die. And so your cost component is higher. So for life especially, the age is a major determinant. And it's one of the reasons why most claims are repudiated or not paid. Once you lie about the age, and it falls to a different bracket, because the younger you are, the lesser you pay. The older you are, the more you pay. So if you are old and then you come up with a younger age, it means that you are cheating the system.
Okay. So to put it generally, the more likely you are to a loss event, the higher the premium you need to pay to the insured.
The more certain the loss is, the more higher. Because, if it's certain, it's certain. Then the insurance company knows that he will pay. So he tries to, because you see, the premiums that were brought together are actually invested so that they can pay the claim when it occurs. So if you bring an 85-year-old person, you want to insure that person for death or funeral. You don't have enough time to invest whatever premium that person would have paid.
Okay.
So the person who is younger has a longer time for which the insurance company will be receiving premiums.
All things being equal.
And all things being equal, at a lower rate, investing it and making money in readiness.
Okay. Ellen Soa says, my experience is to get a good broker to handle your insurances for you. Dealing with insurance companies directly can be daunting. Please differentiate between the various players within the insurance chain. She is mentioning a broker. Starting with him.
Okay, so basically, almost all the life or the insurance companies, especially life business companies, they have insurance agents. And these are trained people who are trained on the products that the company sells. So they go out there, canvas, sell to people, convince them to buy. Then we have relatively experienced insurance people who have set up their own companies, and then they try and sell some of the products of an insurance company. So the broker is not a subsidiary of the insurance company, but it's like an independent person trying to pick some of your, I would say like a retailer.
Okay.
Coming to wholesale from a wholesaler. That's how I'll try and term it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But they are also very experienced because mostly they are people who have been in the field for quite a while and they've sold. But what happens also is that the life companies and especially the insurance companies train their agents. So there's a conscious attempt to consistently train agents, and the National Insurance Commission has also come up with examinations that we are supposed to run just to ensure that the sales team that go there are top-notch and can explain policy very well. And where they may sell as well, sanctions also apply.
And talking about regulation, I think Daniel is asking, how can one differentiate between genuine insurance and a fake insurance?
Okay. Fortunately, the regulatory authority in Ghana here, and in fact, well, from where I sit, working with West Africa, most jurisdictions are emulating that now. Now, the regulatory authority here in Ghana specifically has a computer software which they share. This is specific to motor insurance now, which they share with they have deployed so that you can check, because they have all the right insurance companies, those that are regulated by them, those that are not fake, in their database. And once you can hinge onto that database, you can determine whether an insurance company is fake or otherwise. Yeah.
Okay. Clarence Barno comes in with a comment. He says, insurance penetration is very low. Most people are not interested, and I've been a beneficiary of having insurance, both motor and life. So I would encourage more of us to get insurance for our own good. And we'll be wrapping up the conversation very soon. Unfortunately, our time is up.
Very short.
Yes, very, very short.
Very, very
but
short.
we may want to do a follow-up on this, because there's a whole, people study
for 4 years.
For 4 years to get a degree.
Just to do this thing.
Yeah, and we are trying to do all of that in one session, 1 hour. Mr. Coker,
yes.
Maybe about, in wrapping up, what would be your comments generally for the Christian and insurance, how they are supposed to be living, what kinds of policies they should be considering taking, especially those who have children, those who have dependents, and those who have elderly persons in their lives?
Well, most certainly, first of all, as a Christian, I would encourage you to take out insurance for the simple fact that it helps you stand on your own, and you do not place a burden on somebody else. You know, you do not place a burden on somebody else in the event of an a negative event. You can use the proceeds from insurance to help, as it were, cushion, rather than going to a friend to help you. I mean, and for young people, well, not young people, everybody really. I mean, you have your house, you just built it, and because of some faulty electrical wiring, you lose it. Now, where do you go? I would encourage people to take out insurance. It's wisdom. It's wisdom. I would encourage people to take out insurance, and in taking out insurance, get a good broker. The broker is supposed to be on your side as the client. The broker is a professional. He's supposed to know the market. The good insurance companies, those that behave well, as it were. You know, all the bad name that we have in the insurance business is because of 1 or 2 insurance people who just misbehave. Like I've always said, in every human endeavor, there are cowboys. There are cowboys. Even, I'm sorry to say, we're in a church system, but even in the church, there are cow pastors. Oh yes, I'm not mincing my words in that. There are people who do things the wrong way and give the whole industry a bad name.
Yeah.
Those who will want to cut corners when they're paying claims. Those who want to preach the wrong gospel to get people to join them. Those for me are the cowboys. So if you have to avoid those cowboys.
Okay.
And make sure you get the right people. Now, the broker will help you to do that. So get a professional, competent broker, and you will be home and dry.
Michael.
I would say the best love a parent can give to the family is to buy an insurance policy. We slave every day just to take care of the family. And once you have a policy, especially a life policy, educational, and then basically one that protects your income, should there be death, disability, critical illness, you know that the family is covered. And it's the best way to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Ansah Otu and Mr. William Coker, for this very enlightening conversation. Indeed, the true test of the protection you have for your family is not when you are present, but indeed when you are absent. So what have you done to secure your family? This conversation is not over. Indeed, next week, God willing, we'll be bringing you a part 2 of it. So keep on thinking. Just think all your scenarios and get your questions ready. Our team of experts will be ready and on standby to provide responses to all your questions. We also want to remind you of the fact that One Voice Incorporated, one of our music ministries in the church, is coming up with a concert dubbed One Concert, and it's coming up this particular weekend, this Saturday, I should say, and it's happening here at Trinity United Church. So please mark your calendars and get ready for that as well. My name is Benjamin Ofeyado, and we've brought you this production right from the premises of Trinity United Church on the campus of Trinity Theological Seminary. The program has been Let's Talk About, and today we've been talking about the Christian and insurance. Until same time next week when we meet, stay safe, secure your family, take an insurance policy, but even more importantly, consider a professional. A broker will do you a lot of good. Have a good night.
There is no place like being in your presence. My heart is filled with heavenly joy. There is no time like being with you alone. Your gentle touch revives me again. There is no place like being in your presence. My heart is filled with heavenly joy. There is no time like being with you alone. Your gentle touch revives me again. Lord, I can't live a moment without your love. Lord, I can't go on. You're the air that I breathe. Even when I do stray, you search for my return. So I give you my heart, my body and soul. Lord, I can't live a moment without your love. Lord, I can't go on. You're the air that I breathe. Even when I do stray, you search for my return. So I give you my heart, my body and soul. Oh, my soul. Oh, there is no place like being in your presence. My heart is filled with heavenly joy. There is no time like being with you alone. Your gentle touch revives me again. There is no place like being with you alone. My heart is filled with heavenly joy. There is no time like being in your presence. Your gentle touch revives me again. Lord, I can't live a moment without your love. Lord, I can't go on. You're the air that I breathe. Even when I do stray, you search for my return. So I give you my heart, my body and soul. Lord, I can't live a moment without your love. Lord, I can't go on. You're the air that I breathe. Even when I do stray, you search for my return. So I give you my heart, my body and soul. So I give you my heart, my body and soul. So I give you my heart, my body and soul.